I call the Liberal Democrat spokesperson Will Forster.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And I want to thank the Security Minister for speaking for the whole House when he gave our sincere condolences to Dawn Sturgis's family, when he paid tribute to the emergency and security services, but also when he gave his thoughts for those affected in the Novichok attack. Madam Deputy Speaker, a government's primary role is to keep our country safe. This report into the tragic killing of Dawn Sturgis on the streets of UK by Russian agents in their attempt to assassinate Sergei Skripal is damning. The report has found Vladimir Putin was responsible for a death of an innocent British citizen on our shores. Basic protections were not in place. Sergei was a clear target from Russian state assassins. The inquiry states that he was resettled in the UK under his own name. Russia used this to track him down, and MI5 failed to rename him. Can the Minister confirm to the House why the security services left him in an alarmingly accessible situation, despite clearly being an identified target of Russian state assassination, including residing in Salisbury in his own name? How has the security services justified to the Minister their apparent failure to implement even basic protective measures, such as CCTV, alarms or secure accommodation? Worryingly for UK security, Putin's assassins had no trouble locating him. That failure put him at risk, but exposed the wider public in Salisbury and across the country. That contributed to the death of Dawn, an entirely innocent member of the public. Last year, the Sturgis family's legal team described the Skripals as sitting ducks due to failings that should have been foreseen by MI5. Given the preventable deaths and public risk, what accountability measures will the government take to ensure MI5 protects both vulnerable individuals and the wider public? Considering the threat Russia poses to world security, especially security at home, will the government finally seize the £30 billion in Russian frozen assets across the UK, including Sutton Place in my constituency of Woking? And finally, the government needs to see this report as a turning point for the threat Russia poses to the UK. Will they launch an investigation into Russian interference in British politics to ensure no more UK politicians, like the former leader of the Reform Party in Wales, will be bribed with Russian money?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Well, let me say at the outset that he's absolutely right about the importance of keeping our country safe, and I give him an assurance that we take that incredibly seriously. Of course, we will look very carefully at the detail of this report. He asked me about the accountability mechanisms that exist in government, and I can give him an assurance that the Home Secretary and I take our responsibilities to hold the security services to account very, very seriously indeed. And that is a process that the new Home Secretary and myself dedicate a significant amount of time to every single week. But I do think that we have to be crystal clear that the inquiry's report states unequivocally that the responsibility lies with the Russian state. The chair of the report found that the operation to assassinate Sergei Skripal was authorised at the highest level and concluded that it would not have taken place without the approval of President Putin. The use of a military-grade nerve agent on British soil was a violation of international law and a truly despicable act. And the responsibility for that lies with Russia and Russia alone. Now, he entirely reasonably asked me about the seizing, the confiscation of sovereign Russian assets. I can give him assurance that we take that incredibly seriously as well. Our priority is to ensure that all of the options that we consider with regard to that particular matter are in line with international law and are economically and financially responsible. But Russia must be held accountable for the terrible damage that they've done in Ukraine, and we will do whatever we can to make sure that they are held accountable and that they are made to pay for their actions. His final point was an important one and was about the interference by Russia in our democracy. I chair the Defending Democracy Task Force, which has recently had its